What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris, man. Right here. This is episode 5 of the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. Talking to my girl today, Tera Talmadge, who's a freelance reporter for ESPN. She worked at a couple of stations as well as a sports reporter and an anchor. We are going to talk football with her, childhood with her upbringing. We're going to talk a lot of stuff with Tara today and got some Houston trivia as well, or Texas trivia as well. So without any further ado, I'm gonna bring her on. Here she comes. What's up, Sarah?
Hey,
How we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Well, welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast, conversation
Love
with
it.
CD. Um, I appreciate you being here. First, I gotta
Yeah.
ask, how's the family? How's everybody doing?
Oh, everyone's doing good. Just
Same
normal.
old,
Nothing crazy happening. What about you?
same old, same old. Everybody shot up now. Everybody got the
Yeah.
vaccine now, so we good. We good now. So absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. So,
the classes go well.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I got my
Good.
last shot April 30th, so now we good and we vaccinated and things are
Oh,
starting to look normal again, which is good.
yeah.
So absolutely. So I want to kind of start off by saying, obviously, you're in Arkansas right
Mhm.
now, but you are a Houston, Texas native. That's where you're from.
Yes.
And I would love for you to start off by talking about your childhood, talking about how you grew up with sports, and how did you actually make the decision of going towards the sports reporter route that you did.
So, yeah, like you mentioned, I grew up in Houston, Texas. Actually in Houston, not the outskirts. So,
Right, right,
like the inner loop.
right,
And
right.
went to Montessori school pretty much all my life, and ended up my dad worked in sports. My dad
Okay.
did sales, and he worked for the Houston Rockets for a while when I was really young, and then as I got older, he moved to the Houston Arrows,
Hmm.
which are no more, which is very sad. And then he took a job with the Houston Texans radio network.
Okay.
So I've just kind of been around sports all my life. So I knew I wanted to do something with it. And honestly, I just always found athletes really interesting in terms of like, you always see people and they're like, oh, well, that's the guy who missed that catch, or that's the guy who screwed up, or that's the guy who made that awesome play.
Right.
But you don't really know much about them other than that. So I always knew I wanted to do something where I could learn more about them and help people relate. And so that's how I got into what I'm doing now with broadcasting. And also, I mean, talking sports is just, it's so fun. So,
I'm telling you, I certainly agree. And by the way, I love the hat. If
oh,
it's
thank you.
casual Friday, it's casual Wednesday. I love
Yeah.
it.
Like
I
my
love
one day off this week. So this is how today
it.
is going.
Hey, Sarah, you're rocking it, girl. You're looking
Thank you.
good. No doubt. No
I
doubt.
should have bought you a Houston Rockets hat. It's somewhere around here.
I figured you would wear something from like Houston showing it off, but you know what? It's okay because
Next
later,
time.
later here, I'm gonna test your Texas trivia,
Oh,
Texas
God.
trivia sports. I'm gonna test it. Okay, that's
Okay.
coming up later though. It's coming up
Nothing too
later.
hard.
We're gonna throw some. We'll throw some curveballs, but there will
Okay.
be a couple fastballs too. There'll be a couple.
Love it.
All right. Now, the high school that you went to, if I'm not mistaken, was it Midland? Midland High School or no?
No, so I worked in Midland.
Okay.
That was my first job out of college. I worked, well, so I went to high school at St. Pius High School. It's just a private high
Mm,
school, literally right down the road from my house, my
right.
parents' house. So went there and then ended up actually going to community college for a bit afterwards because I always wanted to go to UT, and it was the one school that I just never got into. But by the time I was done with my time at community college, I fell in love with Austin already. So
Right.
I ended up going to St. Edward's and staying in Austin.
I'm glad you brought up St. Edwards because what I want you to talk about is number one, was there any? I know you said UT, but were there any other choices? Because St. Edwards is in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Was there any other choices besides that school? And also, what exactly did you learn at St. Edward's, whether it was working there or internship wise, that you applied to your job now?
So the I applied to a bunch of different schools. So the one that I took very seriously though was TCU. They had a really good program,
Yeah.
honestly. Um, but at the end of the day, like I mentioned, I fell in love with Austin, and so decided to go to St. Ed's. And truly, their program for for this business is not great. It's a great school though.
Right.
It's an international school, so there's a lot of people from overseas, and so getting that uh, kind of that different culture aspect on campus was really neat. Like some of my best friends are from France, so it was just really cool. I loved that, and I did get to do some internships. I did a couple in radio, and radio was great. The first internship I ever had was doing the morning show as an intern, and oh my god.
Talk about that a little bit.
I was like, oh, wow, this is very early. So, I mean, I was like doing classes during the day,
Right.
having a social life as well. And
Right.
then all of a sudden my alarm goes off and I'm like, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and I have to go.
Mm.
Like, that was not fun. So, eventually I got to do a day radio show. I got to do a sports radio talk show, and that was so fun. Those guys were great. And I'm actually still in touch with all those guys that I used to work with there. And that helped me a lot. And so honestly, at that time I was just not very comfortable talking about sports. I was just kind of worried I would say something wrong. Um, and so those guys helped me open up a little bit.
Yeah, because that's kind of your first experience, and
Yeah.
you obviously are live. So when you're live on the radio, you definitely don't want to say something that's like
Right.
out of touch and out of wrong. So I totally get that, but
Exactly.
it's a great pick. St. Edward's obviously is close to. I would say Austin is close to Houston, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours away. So like
Yeah.
my family could come visit, I could go visit them.
Right.
It was just far enough.
Right, absolutely. So that's awesome that you got a chance to work at the radio station, intern there. But it's also what was fascinating as well is that the hours. You know what I mean? So if people want to get into this business of the radio, of journalism, they have to understand that you have to work at all kinds of hours of the day because it's not a conventional 9 to 5 job. That's for sure.
And when you first get into it, especially, you're not going to get the prime time hours whether it's radio, whether it's journalism, whether it's broadcast. When you start out, you will be working very weird hours, very early, very late, weekends, holidays, and it progressively gets a little bit better. You still work weird hours though, but
absolutely
not as bad as at first.
You gotta love it, and I take from that is you got to love your job that you do, and you do a hell of a job. There's no question about that. So, yeah, that's great. That's awesome. I want to ask you some of your favorite things now. Okay, so I'm just gonna shoot out some questions. Favorite food?
Mexican.
Mexican. Okay. Favorite movie genre?
Like rom-coms, probably.
Okay.
I know that's such a chick answer, but like really, I love just relaxing and watching rom-coms.
Okay, so are we talking like Notebook, something like that?
Like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, 51st Date.
Yeah, like none of that horror stuff, none of the guns and like that's just not up my alley. I'll watch some of it, but it's just not for me. So
favorite restaurant?
Favorite restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I guess oh gosh, that's so hard. Honestly, one of my favorite restaurants is in Houston. It's just like a neighborhood Mexican restaurant that my family and I grew up going to. Like it's just a little hole in the wall and it's just so comfortable. Like we know that they know us, we know them, and it's kind of cool when you know like the people, the family that owns it and the story behind them. And so it's nice.
I love Mexican food. Now my dish is probably carne asada. I love carne asada.
Yep. Fajitas all day, like queso. I know some people call it cheese dip, but it's queso to me. So
That's awesome. Okay. Favorite color?
honestly, red.
Red.
I wear a lot of black, as you can see,
Yeah.
but I do like. I'm gonna wear an actual color.
Wow, that's pretty good. My favorite color is red too. That's why I say,
Go.
wow, that's
And
awesome.
it happens to work out that I cover a team that is red, so
That's
that
true.
was
That's
ideal.
true. Yes, indeed. Oh, I like the correlation. I like that.
Yeah.
Favorite music?
Honestly, it kind of bounces around. Like I really do enjoy pretty much every type of music as long as
Okay.
they're not screaming at me. I'm
Mm-hmm.
totally fine with it. I love country because it's just relaxing and it's nice. Like on a really pretty day, like I love listening to country music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd probably go with that. I'd probably go with country.
Okay. I just recently heard Morgan Wallen. Is it Whalen or Wallen?
Waller?
Wallen, yes. And I like him. He's pretty good. Now, I'm not a huge country buff, Tara. I'm going to tell you that right now. But I get down
Not
with
for
some Morgan.
I totally understand when people say they don't like country. Like
Yeah.
I fully get it. But I don't know, just being in Texas, it's part of it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And I also heard Country Roads
Yeah.
I'm Country Roads by John Denver. If you remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a classic.
That's a classic. Yes, I love it. I love that so much. Good. Last favorite alcoholic drink.
Ugh. Does there have to be a favorite? I'm kidding. I guess what I do most often would be like a margarita, probably.
Yes.
Just like easy go-to.
That is an easy go-to. Love margaritas. I'm a Hennessy Tito's guy. I like that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Love Hennessy. Love Tito's. But
like
wine is good too. I like wine as well.
Wine is good. You just kind of have to be in the mood for it.
You really do.
I'm really gonna go out and be like, can I have a bottle of wine or a glass of wine? I just gotta be in a vibe.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Now, your first job out of school, we talked about you working at Big 2 News, right?
Yeah.
Big 2 News, which is KMID. Can you talk about your experiences there and what did you learn? What did you learn on the job coming out of college?
Everything. I learned everything in that job. It was brutal.
Ooh.
Honestly, like that was rough. Like it was fun and I really enjoyed the people that I got to know there and work with and stuff. But man, like that was a learning experience for sure. Being on your own for the first time. Because even though I moved out and I lived somewhere in college, it's totally different. I'm fully supporting myself and I am in charge of everything. And so it was the job portion of it was oh man, like you're dealing with a place that our radius for what we covered was 3 hours in terms of you can drive 3 hours in one direction and we cover that school.
Right.
So it was very big and we covered a lot of teams and we had minimal budget, minimal supplies. It's just like the quality of stuff, you're trying to put something good out and it's hard sometimes. And also you are one man banding everything.
Right.
You are the like producer, editor, filmer, like
writer.
You do everything.
Right.
And while it is great, I mean, like I said, it was a learning experience and stuff, and it taught me a lot about myself and in this business for sure. And I'm grateful that I do know how to do every single thing if I need to do it.
Right.
But man, not to mention it's 100+ degrees out in West Texas, like all the time. So you're, as a female too, I get dressed up and stuff, and then I've got to lug around all this equipment, and it's 100 degrees, and I'm interviewing people, and then I got to go on air, and I'm like,
right. Touch up.
How do I look? It was just not an ideal situation.
Right.
But it, like I said, it was really great, and it helped me get to this point. So I wouldn't change any of it.
Well, listen, obviously the pros is that you was awarded a job, coming out of
Yeah.
school, doing what you love to do. And listen, a pro is definitely learning all of those skills because
Oh yeah.
obviously that's what you apply to now.
Mhm.
Being a one-man band, yeah, that's the con, no doubt about it. And in that hot weather where, it's not really coastal weather, it's hot
Yeah.
and it's humid.
Yeah.
It's cooking out there in Texas. So
Yeah.
I've been out to Houston, so I know for a fact it's hot.
Exactly.
I don't
But
think I can get any darker. But if I was out there, if I was out there for a minute,
yeah.
it'd probably test that theory. That's for sure. So
So
absolutely, that's awesome. Now, how did you balance or deal with the balance of work life, social life as you was in the full time profession? Because obviously, Tara, you seem like a very outgoing person.
thank
People
you.
love to be around you. There's not a camera that doesn't like your face. I've said that to you before. I'll continue to say that. But you're working all the time. Like you said, with the hours back in college, you have to get up at 2 a.m. and then you have to also do a daytime show, and then you have classes. So sports is all the time. So how do you
Yeah.
balance your work life and social life and also put the importance of mental health? Because some people don't treat it as important as they
Yeah.
should be. So how do you do
I mean, first and foremost, I always take at least like a day for myself.
that?
Um,
Okay.
but I also have that luxury because I don't have kids. I don't have like, a lot of family here or anything. So uh, when I have a day off, this is it. Like I, clean my apartment. I just like focus on things that I need to do. So
Right.
that's my mental health day. Also, but you're still paying attention to what's going on. You're still talking about it with people. You're
Oh
still
yeah.
like, I did a radio show today and I was talking about sports. And so like that stuff's fun for me though. Um, and I do think it's definitely hard to make time to have a social life depending on what your schedule is because
Yeah.
I've missed countless um, birthdays, weddings, family things. And it's hard for sure. It's hard on anyone,
Right.
really. Much less if you're one of the more veteran people that has a family and stuff and you've got kids who have a soccer game or you want to go to a school event. It's definitely difficult to try and make time for those things, but it also depends on who you're working for and if they understand the necessity to be a part of those moments. So for me personally, I've been lucky enough to be able to make time for a lot of situations. I've worked with some great people who are understanding. It's not like that everywhere though. So
Right.
I've gotten very lucky.
And I'm glad you advocated that because
Yeah.
people need to know coming into this business that you really are gonna have to prepare yourself to be like, okay, I'm gonna miss a lot of stuff
Yeah.
because of my job.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get the holidays off. I mean, I'm not gonna get weekends off because sports is nights and weekends, and it's hard. It's easy to talk about it, but when you're in it and
Oh,
you're going
yeah.
through it, burnout can seriously happen to a lot of individuals,
Oh, easy.
and people take that differently. Some people can handle it, and some people just get really depressed as
Yeah.
well. I will also probably add that you have a great foundation as far as your family probably goes. I will
Mhm.
assume that you have that, somebody
Yeah.
that you can go to and talk to, even when you have hard days, and friends even that you
Oh
can
yeah.
call up, text, and talk to as well. So,
Yeah.
um, can you talk to the difference because you've been in a station, but you also a freelancer for ESPN? Can you talk about the difference between being in a workstation but also being on the sideline reporting and doing freelance?
So that's another thing about like having some bosses that are understanding because obviously like I'm leaving my current job some days to do the freelance for ESPN and SEC.
Right,
And so it's good for both of us in some ways, but at
right,
the end of the day, like they're the ones who give me a check every month. So having that balance and that understanding has really been key for that situation to work out. Working at a station is polar opposite though from what you do for, at least for what I've done with
Right.
sideline reporting, it's completely different. At a station, obviously you have multiple shows in a day, and I typically work from about 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 11 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And those are my hours on a regular basis. And my days off switch all the time, which is why this was kind of hard to set up, because I
Right.
literally never know from week to week. Most of the time, I don't know what my schedule looks like the next week. It just really depends on what's going on. And so that's something that, throw into the things you have to juggle. And then with ESPN and SEC, the sideline stuff, it's been one of those situations where I have a team, and I'm a part of the team, and we discuss storylines one day, and then the next day we discuss something else, and then the next day we do interviews, and then like it's a daily thing for sure. But it's, one day it could be at 9 a.m. One day it could
Right.
be at, it just kind of depends. And then I go to the game and do my stuff, and then the moment the game is over, I'm done. Which was one of the most surprising things. Like, I still have not gotten used to it, that the moment the game is over and I've done my interview, everyone's like, okay, thanks, nice meeting you. And then I'm like, do y'all need me to carry anything? Do I need to pack something?
And they're like, nah, we good.
Help. Like, just feel bad just walking out.
Right.
But they're like, nope, this is the easy part. It's setting it up that's really hard. So polar opposite situations, but both are great learning experiences, and it just depends on where you want to go with your career.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard many people talk before about freelancing opportunities. You have control to where you want to go, but also, it's not as stable as being at a station, because you really got to hustle and bustle with freelance.
Oh yeah.
So, but that's great. Great that you explained the differences between those two for sure. Yeah. Now, I told you we was gonna have some Texas trivia. And it's about that time, girl. It's about that time that we got some Texas trivia. Now, this is Texas sports trivia, okay? Now, you are from Houston, so I expect you to know at least most of these questions. There's 5 questions, okay? Now, remember, it's Texas, so it's all over Texas, all right? So here's the first question. Name the teams that the Houston Rockets beat to win their 2 titles.
I have no idea.
Oh my God.
I knew they won, but I cannot remember who they played.
Oh my goodness.
You gotta tell me though the answer.
Yes. You gonna give it at least a try. At least try to name one.
Let's say they beat the Lakers.
Well, they can't play.
I'm just throwing that out there.
I know you did. Okay, you did try, but that's wrong.
Okay.
So, 94, which obviously they beat the New York Knicks in 7 games.
Okay.
And they won back-to-back. 95, they beat Shaq and Penny, the Orlando Magic, where they swept them. So, yes, those are the 2 titles that Houston won. As you remember, back-to-back Clutch City and then double clutch is what there was. So, okay, Tara, we're off to an 0-for-1 start. Let's go with number 2. Name the bench coach who was on the Astros championship team in 2016.
The bench coach?
Mm-hmm. Hence, he is the manager now of the.
I'm gonna be so mad at myself because I can't think of his name right now. This one I actually know though, and I'm. Hold on, just give me a second.
I'm gonna give you. I'll give you at least 30 more seconds. How about that? I gave you a hint. I said he's a manager now.
I know it. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name right now. So circle back. Let's do the next one.
Okay, you know what? We'll circle back. I won't even give you the answer right now. We'll circle back. Here we go. Since 1999, how many titles have the San Antonio Spurs won?
Since
Remember, this is the Tim Duncan era. So since 99, how many titles have they won?
At least 2.
But they won more than 2.
No, I'm trying to think of the other ones.
Mm-hmm. Since you said 2, I'll give you 2 of the years, 99 and 03. Now there's 3 more title years that they won.
4. Did they win 4? Have they won 4?
No. They won more than 4. More than 4.
2.
They won 99. They won in 03. They won in 05. They won in 07. And they won in 14. So they've won 5.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like, I knew they won 1 when I was in college, and so that one had to be in there too. So man, I was kind of close. Okay.
You were closer than the other one. That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the other ones I haven't said any answer. So.
Sure, I wasn't gonna say that, but since you said it, yeah.
I'll admit it. I'm like a bad Houston fan.
Okay.
Fan.
All right. Here's question 4.
Actually, Texas overall, I guess, right now.
Here's question 4. Okay.
Okay.
Now, how many Super Bowls as a franchise have the Dallas Cowboys won?
See, that would have been easy if you asked me what the Houston Texans have won.
Yeah, that's quite easy. that is.
I know that one.
Right, that's the same number of you and I combined of Super Bowl wins.
Exactly. Dallas Cowboys have won plenty. As a franchise, though, I'm trying to think how many they've actually won.
Well, I'll give you a hint.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Now they've won 3 in the 90s. Now there's 2 more that they won.
Oh, are you asking me like the years that they won?
No, how many? How many they won total?
Oh, okay. It was like I definitely don't remember the full years.
Right.
So I think I'm gonna go with. Well, no, I don't want to say that. I feel like that's too high. 5?
Correct. I was about to throw this laptop if you did not get that, because I said they won 3, and it said it was 2 more that they won.
Well, okay, so that's what I was asking. If you were asking me like the years that they won,
I was trying to give you one at least. I was like, yes.
Because I was thinking, I was like, 6 sounds like if they had more in 2000, they probably couldn't have been that many.
Right. The other 2 years that Dallas won was 71 and 77.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been.
Well, I know America's team everyone's very sad about it.
Yes, this is true. That's so funny. Okay, last one.
Yeah.
Dallas Mavericks lost to this 8th seed in what year?
This what?
8th seed. Remember, they got upset by an 8th seed in basketball in the playoffs. But what year?
No idea. I'm honestly not a big NBA person. You want me to call it Mark Cuban right now?
I'm finding that out there. I am.
Sorry.
It's okay. The year was 2007. The We Believe team. If you remember the We Believe Warriors, they beat Dallas Mavericks in 2007 at the 8th seed.
Sorry.
You want to come back to the Astros question?
Yes. Okay. So say it one more time.
Name the bench coach who was on the Astros championship team in 2016.
Okay.
The cheating Astros.
Oh, don't say that. I know it's true, but don't say it. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, apparently. So.
Apparently. Well, they ain't won since, so I guess they haven't been trying too hard.
Oh, so sad. Okay. I know his name. It is Dusty? No.
Dusty coaches the team now.
Yeah. Oh crap! Then I can't remember who the other guy was.
It's Alex Cora. He's the manager of the Red Sox. Right. Yes.
I was like, who is the freaking coach right now?
Yes,
Sorry.
he's the manager of the Red Sox right now. So yes, without score. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say you did well
No,
or good,
didn't
but
very
you're okay. You're okay. Next time we do this, we'll do more football and baseball, and we will cut out the basketball because, yeah, that was.
I fully support that. No
Well,
offense.
listen, if we're gonna be friends, Tara, we got to get you more into basketball because basketball is my favorite sport.
I honestly enjoy basketball, but like I just never really grew up watching NBA by any means. Like I
Mm,
just um it just wasn't really something I paid attention to. I always enjoyed watching football and and honestly baseball a little bit too, but still even that wasn't really like on my radar until especially recently. Over the
recent.
past several years I've become a much bigger fan of a lot of different sports.
Okay, I like that. I can
Expanding
respect it.
a little
I
bit,
respect
especially like college. Well, obviously, I work in college sports, so like that, it's
it.
always
Now,
different when you actually have, some people that to like root for and stuff. It
right.
changes the game for you a little
Well,
bit.
I couldn't ask you college sports because that's what you're working in. So you would have
Yeah.
knocked all those off. You knocked all that
Yes.
out. Now you leave KMID if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
and you go to KNWA,
Mhm.
right? So you
Yep.
go there. Number one, how did you get there? And then how did we talked about it a little bit with the freelance, but how did you actually get the freelance spot with ESPN? Talk about that.
So, so the station that I worked for in West Texas was owned by the same station that I work for now.
Okay.
So I heard about the job opening and applied for it. And thankfully I had a good relationship with my boss at the time. And so I was very upfront with him and said, I don't want to stay here forever. I want to, I really like this other opportunity.
Right.
He helped me out.
Okay.
And he was really nice. He helped me, made a couple calls and it all worked out really well. So thankfully that was just a good situation and I didn't have to break a contract or anything because it's owned by the same company. So I just moved essentially and got
Okay.
a new contract, but it's still, I didn't have to, break anything. So
Right.
that
Right.
worked out really well. The ESPN SEC stuff was basically kind of by chance. I went to SEC Media Days several years ago with the station that I work for.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw Laura Rutledge and I was like, I'm going to be so mad at myself if I don't go say something. So
Right.
I just walked up to her and said hi, introduced myself and, told her I was like, this is obviously what I want to do one day. So if you have any tips or tricks or whatever, let me know. And she said, actually, my boss is right over there. You want to meet him? And I was like, yeah, let's do
Wow.
that. So she introduced me to him and he was very nice. He gave me his card and I blew up his email like nobody else. And I was like, this needs to happen. So he was very nice. He was just those people are so busy and they get a bajillion emails and
Right.
phone calls all the time. So
Mm-hmm.
thankfully I was able to get a hold of him and he out of the blue, they called me one day and I hadn't heard from him in months. And he goes, hey, we got a game. You want to work it? I was like, yeah, yes. Can I do that? Yes. So and it just kind of went from there. We built a really good relationship and I kind of got used to how they handle freelancers and stuff. And so now not hearing anything for a month or two doesn't scare me like it used to.
Right. Right. No, that's amazing. That's an amazing story, and that all started with you having the decisiveness to say, "I'm gonna go up to Laura Rutledge."
Yeah.
And now it's anchoring NFL Live and doing
Right.
all kind of things and stuff like that from the sidelines,
Mm-hmm.
and having a conversation with her and the connection you get, and then she connects you with her boss, who
Right.
now you connected with. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show you that if you show a little initiative at the
Yeah.
right moment and the right time, things can happen for you,
Yeah.
which
You just
a
never
lot of
know.
people are scared to do
Yeah.
so.
It is nerve wracking for sure.
Yeah.
I would say if you're going to, at least have a tiny idea of what you want to say before you go up and do
Right,
it.
right.
But this business is so much about who you know, because there's a ton of people that want to get into it. There's a ton of people who are good at it, but they just don't know the right person.
Right.
And so you just have to take that initiative to build relationships with people.
And I love that. I do. And like I said, I've seen you on the sideline doing your thing, wearing championship belts, talking, being able to just rock the sideline like none other, And there's other females that do it and other people that do it well, but at the same time, there's no way that they can't talk about sideline reporting and not put you into the conversation. Because you do such an amazing job. And it's not just about you being in front of the camera. It's the preparation as well behind the scenes that should be appreciated as well. Because it's just not easy doing what you do. Because if it was, everybody would do it. So
you just get up there and start talking.
Right? And you freelance. So it's like, boom, we need you for this game. You got to prep for this game, this team. Boom, boom. You get the call. Preparation starts. It's not like you have a ton of time to kind of prepare. And plus, you got to do your live. So if certain things like, change up, depending on what your broadcasters may be talking about, hey, you got to be ready for that too, weather-wise. You may be going to a rainy day or a cold day as well. So
there's so many things that happen that people don't really think about or just don't even know happen.
Right.
Especially this past year with COVID.
Yeah.
And majority of the people that are working these games for networks are not actually at the game.
Right.
So I'm one of the only people that's at the actual game.
Right.
And I can't remember which game it was, but both of the play-by-play and the color guy, they were both at home. And I started to hear in my ear that they sounded a little glitchy. And the producer is like, hey, we're losing their signal. You might have to call the game for a minute until we get them back on. And I'm thinking, oh my God. I have never done play-by-play in my life.
Right.
And also calling play-by-play on the field, you can't see certain things.
Right.
Nonetheless, would have been terrifying. Thankfully, it didn't work out that way. And they didn't lose signal, so got everything back together. But stuff like that happens, and so give some people a little more credit. Like I understand. I think I said one thing. Like I knew exactly what I meant to say, but my brain didn't say it.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure everyone has those moments, but mine was on national television.
Right.
So it's a little more difficult. But stuff happens, and you just kind of roll with it.
Yeah, you gotta go with the flow. You do, and listen, it would have been a hell of a play-by-play by you, where you saying tackle by number.
I'm like, I've got a roster, so that's good. But at the same time, man, doing a full, thankfully that didn't happen.
But what if the play would have happened like on the other side of the field? Like that would have been tough, right?
I probably would have just walked to the end zone, stayed in the end zone, and tried to see what was happening.
That's about it.
Going on, you can't see half the stuff
Absolutely
happening in the game. So it would have been interesting for sure.
I'm glad that didn't happen for you. And like I said, you do terrific work. And anybody that wants to see some of your work, they should do exactly what I did. YouTube, you go watch, do what you do as far as interviewing, as far as sideline reporting, because you do such a great job. And there's others as well. The Aaron Andrews, the Christina Finks, the Tiffany Blackmans, other people like that as well as the Laura Rutledge, who also still do sideline as well. So they should definitely go check you guys out. You guys do a tremendous job, no doubt.
I appreciate that.
Can we talk some SEC football? Can we talk a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, obviously, they had some spring games last month. We know Alabama is crushing it in the West. They just, they're crushing it in every sport, it seems like baseball, basketball, they do good. Football, they obviously won the national championship. Nick Saban's just reloading. That's what he's doing. You lose to Mac Jones. You lose the Heisman Trophy winner, but you still got incoming players coming in.
Yeah.
Anybody going to challenge Alabama in the West? Is there some surprises that you see or possible people we should look out for?
That's just hard. Like the West is such a competitive field, in my opinion, and I think LSU is going to be better than they were last season.
Okay.
That's for sure. But competitive enough to really give Alabama a run for their money, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, Alabama doesn't like they lose talent, but they reload with plenty. Like they have guys ready to go. It's not like they just pulled these guys out of nowhere. They've been there ready. I mean that's what Nick Saban does. I do think I don't think if anyone really like honestly could probably beat them, and I don't know. And it's just Bama is Bama,
and they've been that way for years. They really have.
It's hard, and I don't think it's going to change until Nick Saban retires.
Right. And he loses assistant coaches, just plugs them right in. Sark leaves and goes to Texas, and he just plugs another coach in there. Obviously, in the East, Trask is now gone. Florida Gators won it last year. Trask is gone. Pitts is gone. Florida lost a lot of talent. Georgia had a great recruiting class, but aren't we saying that every year about UGA in their recruiting class?
Exactly.
Are those the two names in the East that we should worry about, or is there another team that you think that could sneak up in there?
I definitely think Georgia for sure.
Okay.
That's just, I think Georgia for sure. I don't know about Florida. I'm curious to see how Florida looks this year, honestly, because you talk about guys that they've lost, that they're going to have several big shoes to fill.
Right.
That team. It's just so interesting, like that process. At least everyone gets a spring now.
Yeah.
Like they didn't get last year, and so that could really change things for a lot of people in terms of the new guys that you have coming in, because there were a lot of coaching changes also in the SEC over the past few years. So getting some actual time with your guys during the spring, I think, is going to be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see how that race is going to come out. I mean, obviously, I think that in the West, it's Bama to lose. Do I think LSU is going to be better? Yes. Auburn, I believe, with a new coach now, because Gus is out. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Jimbo Fisher with Texas A&M. It'd be nice to see what they can do and see if they can rise up a little bit. But I just don't see.
There's a lot of QBs that are just like a lot of the SEC teams had these incredible QBs last year, and we didn't see a lot of anyone else behind them.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big questions with a lot of these teams, because your quarterback obviously changes your entire offense.
Yeah.
And so I don't know who is that guy for some of those teams, and we saw some of them in the spring game, but actually in a game time environment is so different when you're not facing your own guys. So it'll be interesting. I'm not sure who I think is going to be the one to maybe give Alabama some real competition for once in a while.
Yeah, we thought it was Georgia, and we thought Kirby would be able to do something, but he struggled against Saban in the last 3 matchups that they played, with the SEC championship, the game last year, and obviously the national championship a couple of years ago. So he's just struggled. Saban has his number for sure. Arkansas, what do you think about Arkansas being down there, girl? What would you say about their team? Do you think they're going to have a winning record? Because Arkansas, they have not been very good.
But they won more games last year than I think anyone expected them to. When COVID happened and they were like, hey, let's just have a 10-game SEC schedule.
Right.
Every Arkansas fan was like, oh my God, this is going to be so bad.
Yeah.
Coach, and they didn't have spring. They didn't have a whole lot of things. And you were just like basically bracing yourself for the worst.
Right.
So then they won 3. They almost won more than that as well. There were a couple games there that were a little bit iffy. But Auburn being the main one. And so
Saw
I'm
that.
sure that they'll do better. I would expect them to do better, but they don't have Felipe Franks anymore.
They don't.
You still have some really good targets. It's just getting them the ball. And I know KJ Jefferson did good against Missouri. He's definitely progressed, but some of the accuracy is still needing to be worked on. So
Still in question. Okay.
yeah, and then also during the spring game, the defense is probably one of the strong points for Arkansas on their team. And they didn't do like a whole lot of exciting things. Granted, it's a spring game. I'm not going to judge them off of that completely.
Kind of early.
Yeah, so I'm sure that they'll be fine because they have so much talent. It'd be hard for them to not be a successful defense. So I do think that this is a team that should be better, especially because they have several guys who decided to use that extra year and
come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know Arkansas plays Georgia. I will definitely be in the house for that game since it is here in Georgia. You already know if you're going to be there. I definitely have to say what's up to you for sure.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And see what's good with that. I want to ask you some this or that type of question.
Okay.
So, burgers or tacos?
Ooh, tacos.
Got you. I have to ask you, being from Houston, Texas, is Whataburger overrated?
Oh, yeah. Like, I feel really bad saying that, but yeah. Like,
hey, you're a real Texan, so I'm gonna take your word for it for sure.
Well, I mean, trust me, I've had plenty late night meals at Whataburger.
Right.
Especially like in high school and stuff. After whatever, we would go there and get taquitos and whatnot. And they were so good. But it's a little overrated for what it is. Yes.
Okay, I had to ask that because like I said, my brother lives in Houston, so I've only been there once, but I did not get the chance of getting Whataburger while I was there. That's for sure. Baseball or basketball? Which I think I know this one.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like I like the pace, obviously, of basketball, and I think it's really fun to be in an arena with everyone. The atmosphere is so fun. Baseball to me is also like one of my favorite sports because it's such a slow game that I know to a lot of people it's very boring, but the excitement of when it is boring and then all of a sudden something crazy happens or some hit, like it's just really cool to be a part of. And so yeah, I don't know, I'd probably go with baseball, but I don't know, it's hard. That's like a 50-50 because
that's pretty close. 51-49, huh?
Thank you. There, we'll go with that.
Okay, I like that. Anchoring or reporting?
Reporting, hands down.
Got it.
Yeah, anchoring is just, you're in a studio, you're on a desk, and it's fun, I guess, but being out and like actually reporting and just kind of winging it is definitely more exciting for me.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. Hip hop or R&B?
Ooh, probably hip hop.
You listen to that J. Cole album yet?
No, actually, I haven't.
Oh my gosh!
It's I'll put it on my list now.
Please do, because that album is smashing. It's smashing.
Okay.
No doubt. Theaters or drive-ins?
Wait, what was it?
Theaters or drive-ins?
Theaters or drive-ins? I kind of like drive-ins. I haven't been. So when I lived in West Texas, my apartment complex was, no joke, right next to a drive-in movie theater. Wow. And so I could pick up the radio signal from my apartment and just sit on my patio and watch the movies. So
I've never met anybody who had that. That's what's up. That is dope.
That was kind of nice. It was one of the perks, I guess, of living in West Texas where everything is one flat. level. I could
I
see
like that. That's awesome. Okay. Uh, Nolan Ryan or Derek Jeter?
Nolan Ryan, 100%.
Nolan Ryan,
Sorry, Jeter.
100%. Texas or Arkansas?
Oh, sorry, what was it?
Texas or Arkansas?
I mean, that's that's hard. It's
It is
Texas.
hard, but you
Let's
got to choose one.
like Texas is my home, so I think I'd always go with Texas. It's just obviously I grew up there, and actually explored majority of that state now. So, and there's still crazy enough places that I've never even heard of. Like
Right.
some will say, "Oh, have you ever heard of this place in Texas?" No, Texas is giant. It's
It is a
massive,
giant.
and yeah, so I love Texas.
I got you. And listen, that's not trying to
Not
de-appreciate
against them.
Arkansas. We know you love Arkansas too,
Yeah,
but home is where the heart is. That's what
exactly.
they say. You know what I mean? All
Yeah,
right, this is the last this or that. And this is the serious one now, so I want you to take your time with this one, okay? Popeyes or Churches?
Popeyes. Like,
That's my girl. That's
and
my girl.
I mean, hands down, Popeyes.
Yes, I love it. I love it, no doubt. Now, I want to ask you, what advice would you give to anybody who's up and coming into the game that uh, they need to know? Like, what is some advice that they need to know before coming into the game, fully committing to being a reporter?
Ugh. I mean, honestly, there's so many things, but I feel like we've covered some of them
Yeah.
throughout this, and
Oh yeah.
so the best advice I could probably give is to one figure out like what your style is, because I think at least for me, I didn't know for a while. I was just kind of bouncing off of people that I worked with or people I had seen on TV, and I tried to be very gimmicky at one point. I just wasn't being myself. And
Right.
so eventually I got comfortable enough to where I found what I wanted my voice to sound like, what I wanted some of my scripts to sound like, instead of, trying to fit something that I thought people wanted. And
Right.
honestly, I didn't want that either. So um, it worked out really well that I figured out my own style, because in this business, it is really hard to make a place for yourself. Um,
Right.
there's so many people that are really good at what they do, and so sometimes you think, oh well, that person has a really cool sign off at the end of their segments. They always say this one thing. That doesn't mean you need one. you just find your own thing and stick to it once you find it, because someone will like it. Because at the same time, a lot of what we do is based on one person's perception of it, and that's the person who's going to hire you.
Right.
So not everyone is going to like what you do. You just have to know that it's what you like, and then someone else will.
I love it. I really do. And being yourself is not easy always to do that.
No.
You see people on TV and you like, I want to imitate them because they're doing a great job. They're on TV and they're reporting. But it's important to find your own lane because, you can be the best. You can't be Aaron Andrews, right? Tara can't be Aaron Andrews, but you can be the Tera Talmadge that needs to be on downfield. I can't be Stuart Stott. I can't say booyah and all this thing. I can't do it.
It doesn't fit sometimes. It's
Right.
like, obviously you can take notes from people. Like when I was getting into this, I watched a lot of video of other girls or other side reporters and took notes essentially, and also practice, which I know sounds very odd to people, but like practicing in the mirror.
We talking about practice?
Yes, like practice how you sound, what you look like, how you want to present yourself, and how you sound. Like it's actually really good for you, because I personally hated watching myself for a very long time. I don't like it. I still think it's kind of weird, but you learn a lot from watching yourself back on what you've done, and so it helps you get better, is what I'm trying to say.
Nah, that's great. That's great advice. And anybody that checks this episode out is definitely going to understand the life of a sports reporter on the field, in the station, and what you have to go through and what you're willing to sacrifice. You have to ask yourself these questions. Is this something that you really want?
Oh yeah.
Because if you really want it, go after it. But if you really don't, you cannot. This is not the industry to half-ass.
Yeah, you
It
can't
really
be
is.
this.
And no industry really is. But we know we're talking sports, and this is just not the industry for that. So Tara, I want to thank you for coming on to the podcast, Work Hard, Play Hard, Conversations with CB. And I just, listen, obviously you and I are going to stay in touch. That's
Yeah.
obvious. But I would love to ask you, before we conclude, is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much for having me on.
No doubt, no doubt. Now, you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and
Thank you.
we will be in touch. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. All right. Bye.
Bye.